It is a little surprising to see, even though many of the Chinese companies are making their way back to Hong Kong and to a certain extent the Asian market. There's still a flurry of companies going to the U.S. to get listed. And I think, when they filed the IPO document, probably back then, the listing rules in China is still sort of vague. The reform on the China export only started early this week. So, in the old system, you have to queue up to get approval to be listed on the stock exchange to finance your growth. So, I think people just take the shortcut to go to the U.S. to finance there. And also, because the tech sector in the U.S. is getting reasonably good valuation as well. And also Tesla is traded in the U.S. So you have a very good, valuable benchmark to get valuation on. So that's why I think, some of them are going to the U.S.
I'm just curious how you think investors in China markets are watching the U.S. election, because there's been some debate as to whether or not Joe Biden, if he wins, would be softer on China from a diplomatic standpoint. Is this something you're taking into consideration?
I think after 2016 election, everybody in China is paying huge attention to the U.S. election this year. And starting 2 years ago, when the trade war between China and the U.S. started, people noticed a tremendous impact on the Chinese stock market, and therefore, to their own interest, it pays to pay attention to the election. Even though the consensus, is that Biden could be more friendly than Trump towards China. But the thing is that the consensus towards China between the two parties are actually achieved, and to a certain extent, the sort of restraint on Chinese expansion has started since Obama's time. So I wouldn't be surprised to see, Biden would be, sort of, more lenient on the surface, but then, underneath, there's still strong current to restrain Chinese growth to overtake the U.S. to become number one in the world. So I wouldn't be surprised to see, Biden is more or less the same as Trump in terms of Chinese policy.
Interesting. So in terms of implications for the market, what if the polls have it wrong? And what if President Trump enjoys a late-stage surge in the polls, let's just say, and surprises everyone with an election victory? Do you think that could be a catalyst for a correction in Chinese markets?
I think, people would see higher uncertainty if Trump get reelected as president. I think reason being Trump is quite unpredictable. So even though the consensus towards China has been achieved between the two parties, but the approach is different. I think Biden is more sort of a measured, logical, and also trying to build a consensus between the friends with the U.S. But then at the same time, Trump is unpredictable.